Hey YouTube audience, it's your Magic the Gathering fangirl Ivy again, and we're going to talk about Hydras. What's a Hydra? Well, Hydra is a multi-headed dragon snake monster thing. I know it sounds pretty generic, but they're actually from mythology, and the hero would have to try to slay it by cutting off each of its heads. But rumor has it they can just grow the heads back, and well, you have, an unkillable monster, supposedly. But we're going to talk about Hydras. We're going to talk about Magic the Gathering. Hydras were never really a thing. I guess you could say there's never really a lot of play for that type of creature. I had maybe one or two in a couple decks or something, but, honestly, until now, as you can see, Hydras weren't useful until this card came out. Maybe they are useful. Every card in Magic is useful, but I think the amount of play they get, probably not very often as compared to what this can go ahead and do for us. So let's just get started. Let's just jump right into it. Obviously, you can see we got Gargos, the Viscious Watcher. He's a legendary creature, Hydra. He's going to be our commander. He's got Vigilance. Hydra spells you cast cost 4 less to cast. That is what really makes this card stand out, because right now you're automatically dropping 4 into any X casting cost Hydras. So there you go. You just get them out. You automatically get 4, so you can drop more mana into that, and then make those, +1/+1 counters bigger, or do all kinds of cool things with Hydras. Now, whenever you control, or whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell, Gargos Viscious Watcher fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So this is our commander. Let's go ahead and jump right into it and see what creatures are on theme with that commander. So obviously I'm going to give you 2 guesses, and the first one doesn't count. We're going to say it's Hydras. Go figure. So first Hydra card we have is an Honored Hydra. He's a creature, Snake Hydra. He's got Trample and Embalm, 3 and a green. You can exile this card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a white zombie Snake Hydra with no mana cost. You can embalm only as a sorcery. What's cool about this guy is he's dead. You can go get him back, basically, and you get him back for less than what he cost originally to put out. And he's in a Hydra spell, so I think he plays for what? Doesn't he play for, like, free? Well, not free, but I guess maybe like one green mana, maybe? Okay. Let's jump into the next one. We got Genesis Hydra. When you cast Genesis Hydra, reveal the top X cards from your library. You may put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of your library. Genesis Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. I think that's awesome, because you're automatically going to get 4 out of X, so you just add more to it, and well, guess what? I mean, you can see what it does. You can obviously put things in the battlefield that are less than the converted mana costs. I'd say that's pretty darn amazing. Good stuff, right? Next card we got is Ulvenwald Hydra. I'm assuming that's how you say that. He's got Reach. Ulvenwald Hydra's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Kind of cool. If you have some, bunch of lands out, well, there you go. He's going to be like a 6 or 7 or whatever. But, I mean, look at him. He's going to play for two green, so it's pretty easy. The whole deck has just basically mostly basic lands, so should be easy to get him out. When he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card and put it in the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. Very useful. Good stuff. Next card is going to be, you can't beat that. It comes with mana ramp automatically built in for something that you're getting a discount for, so it's pretty amazing. We got Basswood Hydra. He's X and Doubletree. We've got Basswood Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When Basswood Hydra dies, you may distribute a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on Basswood Hydra among any number of creatures you control. So I guess, I think that's really useful. If he's dead, then you get whatever left of him and add him to another Hydra. It's kind of brutal if you think about it. They're kind of cannibalizing his corpse. All right, let's jump into the next card. We got Scourge of Skullavail. That's a Hydra. He has Trample. Scourge of Skullavail enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Not so impressive. You can sacrifice a creature to put any number of +1/+1 counters on Scourge of Skull of Ale equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. So if you're in a situation where you got to sack a creature, well, sack them in response and drop the counters into this guy. Seems like a good idea to me. Next card we got is Viscious Hydra. Trample. Viscious Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Obviously you get 4 because of the commander. When Viscious Hydra enters the battlefield, choose one. Double the number of +1/+1 counters on Viscious Hydra. So he comes in with 8 counters. If you don't even pump anything extra into him, that's huge. Viscious Hydra fights target creature you don't control. Love it. Next card we got is Protein Hydra. I call him Protein Hydra. But I know it's Protean, I believe is how you say that. But honestly, it looks like Protein Hydra. He's been hulking out on all those protein bars. Alright, so we got Protein Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. If damage would be dealt to Protein Hydra, prevent that damage and remove that many +1/+1 counters from it. Whenever a +1/+1 counter is removed from Protein Hydra, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. Good stuff. We got this guy. We got Kalini Hydra. Well, I assume I'm going to have some green creatures out, so you know, not too bad. I guess maybe this one might get traded out for a different Hydra because he's really just straight tree mana, but considering I'm probably going to have a lot of creatures out, I think he might be pretty useful at some point. He should only be able to get out for like, you know, maybe 5, 6, or 4 or something. So he should be easy to drop on the field. We got a Mistcutter Hydra. Mistcutter Hydra can't be countered. Can't beat that. No anti-blue. Gotta love the anti-counter spells and stuff. That's great. Gotta hate on the blue when you're playing a green deck. Haste, protection from blue. That's even better. I mean, he obviously can't be removed or disenchanted or lower counters from blue cards. You can definitely keep him out there. Mistcutter Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So a tree, and you get 4 automatically from your commander, so you could just make them real big real fast. Hungering Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Hungering Hydra can't be blocked by more than one creature. When Hungering Hydra is dealt damage, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. That's just amazing. So who's going to want to slam into this thing? It's just going to get bigger, you know. Alright, next we got, oh, that's an enchantment. We don't care about those. We care more about the Mana Gorger Hydra. I think he's cooler than enchantment, but you never know. Trample. He starts out as whenever a player casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Mana Gorger Hydra. In a 4-player commander pod, I got this guy up to a 23/23. Seriously, 23/23 on this guy with Trample. I just gotta, you know, keep him protected or make sure he doesn't get, like, booted off the field, so we'll see. We got Oran Reef Hydra. He's got Trample. He's got a landfall mechanic, so whenever a land enters the battlefield under my control, I can put a +1/+1 counter on Oran Reef Hydra. If that land is a forest, which all of these are forests, considering it's a mono green deck, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on Oran Reef Hydra instead. So he only plays for 2. I mean, he plays for 2. I drop a forest, then he plays, then he's a 7/7. See where this is going? Oh, we got that silly enchantment. So we're going to go ahead and do Hydra Omnivore. Whenever Hydra Omnivore deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Huge. I mean, if you hit somebody with this for 8 and you're in commander at a 4-player game, everybody gets damaged. I mean, granted, everyone's going to hate you and you're probably going to lose that guy pretty fast if you get it through, but nonetheless, still a neat way to get 8 damage in. We got this one, Nessian Wild's Ravager. This is interesting. He's a tribute card. So, you know, if your opponent doesn't put 6 counters on him, I mean, he enters the battlefield, you may have him fight another target creature. So you automatically, almost like it's haste. But if there's some creature you don't want out, you can just make this guy fight him if somebody doesn't want to, you know, put counters on him. Feral Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. You can pay 3 and drop a +1/+1 counter on Feral Hydra. Any player may activate this ability. Not sure why you'd want to do that. You know, I may boot this guy out or I may keep him. I think he's kind of neat, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe if another player says, hey, I will go ahead and pump up your Hydra to kill this thing. You know, it's a political card. I think it might be a politics thing. So Pulukranos, World Eater. He's got Monstrosity. You can see what Monstrosity does. Lots of X's there. He plays for 2, obviously with the commander out. When he becomes monstrance, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures your opponents control. Each of those creatures deals damage equal to its power to Pulukranos. You know, I don't know if I'm going to keep him in. It's kind of neat. I'll see how it goes. You know, if I can get my mana up high or just sort of see what I can do with him. He may get the punt. I don't know. He may get the boot and I'll get a different Hydra in there. Something different. We'll see. We got Whip Tongue Hydra. I actually use this. This was actually really useful. Reach. When Whip Tongue Hydra enters the battlefield, destroy all creatures with flying. Put a +1/+1 counter on a Whip Tongue Hydra for each creature destroyed this way. Very useful. I did get rid of some stuff that was flying that way. It worked really good. Now, those creatures were on theme. Now we're going to hit up some creatures that are not, but they are great for the deck, so I figured I'd keep them in. This is a new guy. He's a new guy in the Magic universe. Comes from the Modern Horizons set. Oh, good old level up from, I think Zendikar did this, or Worldquake, or something back in the day. Really neat. He gets protection from instants, so he can't be booted off the field, basically. And eventually gets protection from everything. Like a Progenitus, protection from everything. So I just gotta dump some mana into him and we're good to go. And level up, remember, you can keep doing that. So, each turn that goes by, you have extra mana, you can drop it in there. You'll see why some of these big creatures are in here in a second. Now, Yeva allows me to play creatures with flash. So I can put them out during each other player's turn if I want to. So you can see what Yeva does. He's pretty straightforward. This one's a good one. Tornado Elemental. When Tornado Elemental enters the battlefield, it deals 6 damage to each creature with flying. Again, a great source to get rid of things that fly over your Hydras. So that's why I put it in there. It's like a board wipe. It's a one-sided board wipe because I don't think I have anything in this deck that flies. So you can't complain about having something that'll board wipe things that are annoying you. Of course, you can have it assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. That is really amazing. I love this card. Definitely good for this deck. Next up, we got... this one's really good. I mean, add an amount of mana to your mana pool equal to your devotion in green. If you notice, a lot of these cards have 3 mana symbols on them, or 2 and 3 and 1. I mean, you do this. I already used this card, honestly. And one time I tapped for 16 mana because I had like 4 guys out. So it's like, whoa, you know, I just ended up getting lots of free guys out. This one, I love this card. It's basically a triple Llanowar Elves on a single card. That's like really epic. Gives me free 3 mana. Guaranteed I'm going to get that out. That automatically boosts my mana production. Thunderfoot Bailout. Obviously he's Lieutenant, so I thought he was a good green card to have in here. As long as you control your commander, Thunderfoot Bailoth, I guess, gets +2/+2, and other creatures you control get +2/+2 and have trample. That's what you want to be doing with this deck, is trampling the crap out of people with it. This is one of my little favorite annoyers. This is a good little annoyer. Predator Ooze is indestructible, so you can't really blow him up or get rid of him or target him with direct damage. Whenever he attacks, he puts a counter on him. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Predator Ooze this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on him. He'll always attack. Basically, every turn I'm just going to attack with him unless somebody makes him go away somehow. So, Acidic Slime, honestly, it's just for what it does. I mean, I'm not really concerned about the Death Touch. I just wanted to get rid of an artifact or enchantment or land that's bothering me. So, not mine, of course, somebody else's. Ronus, he's indestructible and he has Death Touch. Yeah, can't beat that, right? He's can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. Well, these are mostly all going to be 4 or greater anyway, because I'm already getting 4 right into their casting cost bonus, so can't complain about Ronus. He's doing his job. Next one, we got Evolution Sage. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. Proliferate mechanic means that you can choose any number of permanents under players and each give them another counter of each kind already there. A lot of these Hydras, you'll notice, they add counters, so I thought it was a good little synergy card there in green. Let's grab some Planeswalkers, see what they're doing. We only have 2. I've got Nissa, who shakes the world. Obviously, whenever I tap a force for mana, I add an additional mana. So there was a point where with the Nessian whatever and then Nissa out, I was getting crazy amounts of just mana, just like 20 mana per turn. So this was really a huge boon for this deck. Now I can put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target non-creature land. Who cares? It's kind of neat. I guess you want to attack with a land, but whatever. Of course, when you get her to 8, lands you control have indestructible. Search your library for any number of forest cards. Put them in the battlefield tapped to shuffle. Unbelievable. And by the way, if you have a landfall deck, just put her in there. Come on. Obviously. Vivian, Champion of the Wilds. We got, it again gives me ability to cast creatures with flash. Until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gains vigilance and reach. So good to block things that fly. I'll definitely be using that a lot. And if you just subtract 2, I can look at the top 3 cards in my library, exile 1 face down, and put the rest on the bottom of my library in any order. For as long as it remains exiled, you may look at that card and you may cast it as if it's a creature card. Nice. Pretty cool, huh? Now, we jump into our enchantments. These are going to be pretty simple. I'm going to try to get through them pretty quick. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. So, obviously, you can reveal the top card of your library. You can put that in your hand. Otherwise, you can put a counter on your creature. So, I thought that was a good enchantment to have hanging around. And, of course, old school artwork for Doubling Season. I think you know what Doubling Season does in this kind of deck. You're going to add counters, so I double the amount of counters I put on the Hydras. So if it comes in with 8 +1/+1 counters, it now has 16 +1/+1 counters. That's just ridiculous. Wow. All right, we got a good old Kamigawa card. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, tap all lands that player controls and untap all lands you control. Yeah, there's that. Yep, that's a thing. And a lot of my guys will have trample with some of the other effects going on, so yeah, they probably will damage a player. Sack a creature. Draw cards equal to the sack of creature's power, then discard 3 cards. Not bad if I need card draw. I just sack one of my Hydras, grab the cards, get them out. You see where I'm going with that? Good stuff. We got Elemental Bond. When a creature with power 3 or greater, oh gee, they're all 3 or greater, enters the battlefield under control, draw a card. So obviously I'll be drawing cards. That's what you want to be doing in Commander. Draw a card. Primal Rage, they all have trample. Well, go figure. Yeah, you want to make sure they all have trample. That's like a thing, you want to get that damage in. Leyline of Life Force. This one may get booted out, but I like the fact that it can't be countered. Creature spells can't be countered. And of course I can play it for free if it's in my opening hand. So that's kind of a neat play when I can get it out for free. Myth Unbound. Your commander costs 1 less to cast for each time it's been cast from the command zone. Whenever your commander is put into the command zone from anywhere, I can draw a card. So if somebody punts my Hydra commander, well, I'll just go draw a card. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of that type. Again, a doubling mana card. It's huge. 7 cost, but you can see where this is going. There's a lot of mana in this deck to get, so you can make more mana enough to obviously cast that 7 cost. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. When you have Yeva out, your creatures have flash, you can play stuff on other people's turns. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you may put a land from your hand into the battlefield. Again, more, that's, again, more ramp. Ideas to ramp up. Now, I only have 1 instant, which that may not stay that way. But if you guys have any suggestions, there's some very, very good instants that'll make this deck just more OP than it already is. Please, in the comments, leave me suggestions. What kind of instants should I throw in here? I only got 1. I figured Croson Grip, pretty good. I can destroy a target artifact or enchantment. A lot of people play weird artifact shenanigans, so I figured, you know what? Let's just get rid of it. Let's kill the stack and just say goodbye. This is a game winner. I won the game with this card. Until end of turn, creatures you control get trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Well, my Hydra is 16/16. I cast this on it, swing in, and that's player death. I mean, all my Hydras become ridiculous. That's pretty much total player death, or maybe even the entire table, but I don't know if people are going to like it after killing the entire table. Search your library for up to 2 basic forest cards. I think you know what this is. Kind of just a, a ramp card. Pretty obvious stuff. Same thing, more ramp. Plus you get some extra life with that. Can't hurt to have some life gain, I guess. Primal Surge. Exile the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it into the battlefield. If you do, repeat the process. Yes, it's 10 mana. Am I going to get 10 mana? Probably. So I put the card in the battlefield. No casting, just put it there. Primal Command, you get to choose 2 of those 4 things. I'm sure you can read them. You can pause the video if you want to check out what those are. Next up, we got Pier's Whim. I threw them in here just for the lulz. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend searches their library for a land card. Put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle their library. Each foe sacrifices an artifact or enchantment they control. In early game, if you can get him out, if we can get that card out, I'd say that's an annoyance because I get ramp and you lose your soul ring. I mean, that seems pretty cool to me. Next, we got Fungal Sprouting. Put X +1/+1 green sapling creature tokens on the battlefield where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. It's just an annoyance card. It literally just, I have a 10/10 Hydra or 12/12 Hydra. I just make 12 little 1/1 saplings or whatever. Choose 1 or more. Destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, and or destroy target land. Annoying, but I'll be glad to do that to somebody to get them from messing around with shenanigans and artifacts and enchantments. Destroy all cheat creatures with flying. Well, guess what? Nothing in this deck flies, so no problems there. Board wipe for me, not for you. Alright. Traverse the Outlands. It's obviously, you can see what it is, to ramp card. Pretty obvious. Next we got Harbonize. I can draw 3 cards. Kind of obvious there. Next we got, until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample and infect. Game winner. I mean, honestly, you swing in with enough of these, you give them infect, you get, in case anybody doesn't know, the infect mechanic, if a player gets 10 or more poison counters, well 10 really is the limit. If you get 10 poison counters, you automatically die. That player is removed from the game, they lose the game. We got Overrun. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. Again, it's just a cheap little, probably 10-cent uncommon card, but honestly it works great in this deck. This is some protection for the commander. Equipped creature is unblockable. Very useful. Equipped creature has Shroud, so keep some spells off them there. Protect commander. Got some mana buff there. Yeah, so whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay green. If you do, draw a card. Get some awesome card draw there. I'm sure I'll have plenty of green mana floating around considering the only color on the deck is green. Bow of Nylea gives me all my creatures have Death Touch, which is just a buff. It's amazing. I can put counters on things. I can gain 3 life. You can see what it does. I can throw some cards back into my library if I really want to do that. Yeah, okay. I think you know what a Soul Ring does. Sword of the Animist, an oldie but a goodie. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card. Put it in the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Pretty neat to attach that to a Hydra. Okay, whenever a land's ability causes you to add 1 mana of the chosen color, add 1 additional mana of that color. Imagine if I get like all these stacked up mana cards. I'm just tapping a land and getting 4 mana for 1 land. It's amazing. Creatures get a buff of +1/+1. And of course it so you see what it does. Good card. Can't complain about that. And to add, I don't know, I want to say insult or injury, but my green spells cost 1 less to play. So now if I have this out, it's only cost 2 to get it out, and then I have my commander out, so all my Hydras automatically come into play with 5 +1/+1 counters, even if I just tap 1 mana. Probably I'll dump more into that, but you see where I'm going with this. This is an option card I was thinking about throwing in. I'm thinking about putting that on, in the deck. So tell me what you think, if I should throw it in and curse somebody, make my creatures better because of that. We'll see. There's really not too much other than the basic lands. We got this land here. I can sack it for that and search up to 2 basic land cards to put them in the battlefield tab and shuffle my library. It's basically, obviously just ramp. We got Mosswort, Hideaway. When it comes out, I can look at the top 4 cards in my library, exile 1 face down, put the rest on the bottom. And I may play the exile card without paying its mana cost if creatures I control have a total power of 10 or greater. I think there's a high probability I'm going to have some 10 plus creatures. I kept Blaststone in because of all the mana floating around. I'm thinking, well, if I need it, it's neat to have a nuke button hanging around. So, yeah, I decided to keep a nuke button just in case I need it. Because if I get my Hydras big enough, I can just nuke the whole board and then kill things that don't need to be in there. Don't know if I'll need it, but I threw a Reliquary in there just in case I do end up drawing past 7. I don't think it's going to happen in this kind of deck, but it wasn't hurt to put it in there, considering I don't really worry about not getting tree mana, not getting forests. Fertile Thicket. You may look at the top 5 cards of your library. If you do, reveal up to 1 basic land card from among them, and then put that card on top of the library and the rest on the bottom in any order. Definitely going to get me some, more ramp there. And that's it. We are done. Just have basic lands, see? You know what's really nice is that it's only 1 color, so guaranteed you don't have to have any non-basic lands, except for maybe some of those utility lands and things. So, well, if somebody tries to blow up or lock down a non-basic land, there's really not a lot you can do in Magic to basic lands. I mean, I don't know that there's a lot that destroys. There's a couple. I mean, destroy target land and stuff, but, it's a basic land. It's the, most fundamental foundation of Magic is the basic land, so no one's going to mess with that, I would think, right? Well, guys, you know what? It's been great, showing you my deck and giving you my deck tech here on this Hydra deck. I'm probably going to, tweak it a little bit, or maybe you can give me some pointers on how I can tweak it even better than what it is. I think these cards are pretty good. I have won with this deck and won the table with this deck, so, maybe... it's doing its job. I think I want to put in a asceticism to protect all the Hydras that are out somehow. So I just don't own the card, but hopefully I'll get one of those and put it in this deck. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoy my videos, my deck techs, my box openings. Please like my videos. Please, just you can comment on them or whatever. Subscribe to my channel if you're watching this and you like it. But it's been great sharing this with you guys, and peace out. Keep playing Magic.